Hey guys, my name is Kamana Kane, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a book review on what was the March on Washington. Okay, so the March on Washington was basically where, back a long time ago, segregation, racism was a thing. I mean, it still is now, but a lot of them it was actually legal, and most people had different things. For like colored people, they have a low quality sink, and for white people, they'd have more higher quality sinks. Same with schools, they couldn't use the same water fountains, bathrooms, schools. They couldn't eat at the same restaurants, and man, back then it was bad. But the thing is, many different types of presidents. Well, mainly it talks about the two in this book, but a bunch of other presidents have stopped racism and segregation. So basically, the March on Washington was a kind of march where they all lined up, not lined up, but they all crowded up. They had posters saying, gradually is not fast enough, and a bunch of different other posters like Jim Crow must go, we demand jobs now, on the March of Washington. And what they did was a bunch of black and white people, men and women, stood up on the stage and gave a speech about segregation and how they plan to stop it. And if you know Martin Luther King Jr.'s famous speech, I Have a Dream, I'll talk about that later. Yeah, 250,000 people actually walked out to Washington, D.C. One person even roller skated from 230 miles to Washington, D.C., all around the country. And since satellites was a new thing then, it was actually broadcasted, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech was recorded nationally and all around the world. More than 2,000 buses, 21 chartered trains, 10 airplanes, and a countless number of cars brought people to Washington, D.C. Yeah, a bunch of people went to Washington, D.C. 250,000 people marched there. There wasn't a lot of more information than just that, other than more about politics and how people try to stop it. Like they tried to pass a law. 70% of people at that speech was black, and 30% were white. There were around 9,000 police guards walking with them to make sure riots didn't happen. Martin Luther King Jr. Didn't actually have any plans. I mean, he wrote the speech, of course, but he didn't have any plans on how he was going to begin it, how he's going to start it, how he was going to introduce himself. And yeah, there was a bunch of different stuff. It talks about Rosa Parks and how many other people, how they just did like Gandhi. I did a book review on that person, on basically how they can kind of protest in a non-physical, non-possessive way. I believe there are 3 character traits that Gandhi used, but this book only talked about 2. So yeah, that was it, and now I'm gonna go show you guys the pictures. It tells you the importance of all the missions, and yeah, a bunch of people were lynched, which means that they got hung around the neck. I don't think that's very good though. So here's a segregated water fountains right here. A classroom in an all black school in the South, and a classroom in an all white school in the South. So not speaking of Martin Luther's speech, I'm going to start talking about Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech in a moment. Thurgood Marshall in 1954, after a landmark Supreme Court case, Linda Brown, far left, was able to attend a school that was used to be for white children only. Segregationists protesting integration. President John F. Kennedy with members of NAACP. So his speech, it was all about segregation, all that stuff. And it says in this book, every time he said, I have a dream, it became stronger and more meaning. And after the whole thing, people were crying and sobbing and smiling and hugging each other. Strangers were hugging each other. That's crazy. And it says, the more he repeated, I have a dream, the more powerful it grew. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Even in places like Alabama, he predicted little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and little girls as sisters and brothers. His language was biblical, poetic, and gorgeous. He ended by calling on people to go home and keep working towards his dreams so that someday all Americans would be free. Yeah. Here. Firefighters hosing civil rights protesters in Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah. High pressure hose right into their backs. Yeah, that wouldn't feel good. John Lewis addressing marchers. Bayard Reston on the left with civil rights leader Cleveland Robinson, Philip Randolph, and Roy Wilkins Center planning the route of the march with civil rights leader Anna Arnold Hedgeman, and leaders of the march in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Okay, coming up to our last pages, a packed crowd at the march. See a bunch of people there. Yeah, people were putting their feet in the pool. Where was it? Never mind. In the pool of, the monument. I forget what it's called, but images of the march. Yeah. They put their feet in the pool because of some people walk barefoot, so their feet were aching and hurting. So they put it in the pool to kind of calm it down. Demonstrators dipping their feet into the reflecting pool. I literally just said that. I didn't know it was going to come up. Martin Luther King Jr. delivering his I Have a Dream speech. The National Mall and the Washington Monument. I literally just said that. I predicted it. Okay, now our last page is President Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act in 1964 as Martin Luther King Jr. and others look on. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for today's book review. I hope you guys like my book review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You can also check a bunch of my other book reviews in the past. And you can even buy yourself these Who, What, and Where is books from Who HQ. They are really interesting books, and I really recommend you guys reading it. It's really short, although it won't really help your reading score on like tests. I mean, it can, but it will also recirculate and kind of get you into the groove of studying and learning about famous people and things like this. So make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and shaka out of here.